Okay, hold on. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay, now I can hear you.
There
Okay,
you go.
the lady that was coming from France, she's going through something right now. She's dealing with something, so she might not be able to make it. Uh,
Okay.
but Sai, the one that he was in the studio, I don't know if you can see him, but he will be here, but he's driving home.
Okay.
So basically, I guess we'll just start off with you because he's going to talk more about the revolutionary side as far as what a revolutionary is. And I wanted you to talk more about the activism side because a lot of people do not know what an activist is or what kind of work that they do as far as
Okay.
putting in the work. So we can start off like that. So if you want to introduce yourself to everybody, we don't have that many viewers now, but hopefully more people
Right.
start coming in.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely cool with that. And thank you for having this event for us today. You know what I
No
mean? It's
problem.
definitely an honor and a blessing. I'm your brother God Energy, uh, small time activist, former revolutionary. I've had my hand in a few different community things, and definitely want to get on here and chop it up with the people and inspire people to become more active and take these progressive steps. Because kind of how I see it is, you start off as a researcher, and that gets you in the revolutionary spirit. You know what I mean? That gets you in the revolutionary mindset, and then the next step out of that is getting into activism. You know what I mean? Some sort of civics, and that's the defining, I think, factor with activism is the civics that's implied with it, the civics that comes along with it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and I feel like a lot of our people are ready for that. I feel like a lot of our people are calling for that as part of the discussion. You hear a little bit of frustration with having redundant conversations, having redundant arguments. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's because that next level of social development and civics isn't always being sprang forth from these conversations.
Right. So I always wanted to, because most of the people that I know that are activists, all they did was march. Like, that's all that I knew that they did.
Mm.
But what else does an activist actually do?
That's actually a great point that you bring up, because that might be a lot of people's just broad view, you know what I mean, of an activist. And from the outside looking in, it may just seem like that because a lot of the people that we are taught about, or a lot of the things that we are taught about, have something to do with that marching, protesting, doing a sit-in, letting people spit on you and degrade you. You know what I mean? But
Right.
there are definitely much more aspects to it. Getting involved in policies in your local government, and making these decision makers feel your presence and hear your voice. You know what I mean? Community organizing is a large factor in activism. Organizing, being able to make people aware of the issue, but also inspire them to stand with you, to take
Right.
some sort of action. Having some sort of call to action is important. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
Yeah. So what is it that, because I know that we've talked before on Bigo
right.
and you've said all these things that you're doing. If you want to share with people what you're doing, out here actually putting in the work, because a lot of people don't think activists put in any kind of work. They just march and hold signs, and
Right.
that's all they do.
Right. And see with and I'm not exactly sure that loose model of researcher, revolutionary activist, that's just some loose construct I put together. You know what I mean? But honestly, I don't know exactly where the lines is drawn in the sand between, the revolutionary teachings and energy that I have with this call to action or quote unquote activism. You know what I mean? So all I know is, there are just things that need to be done for our people, and voids that need to be filled, generational curses that need to be broken. You know what I mean? So
Right.
that's what's definitely led me to kind of put all the effort that I can forth to give back to the people. And I've organized PowerPoint presentations at the local library, which kind of started off my journey of being active. You know what I mean? After I did my research and my studies, which led to, the local Masons. One of the Masons that came, I got on his radar. He introduced me to someone else, and that person facilitated a speech that I did at the Heritage Museum up here,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I started off speaking, doing some public speaking appearances. I was brought into exposed to a few Big Brother programs. I believe the Freemason was trying to, you know what I mean, show me the ropes. I think he was trying to groom me for, an entrance into the Masons. I had no interest in that, but was always open to network with the brother. You know what I mean? And that is the spirit we need to come with more, instead of looking at things and letting that divide. It's like, oh, he's a Mason, oh, he's a this personite, he's a Muslim, he's a, you know what I mean?
Right.
I
Right.
don't I don't think we should let those things divide us and cause grudges, because like, I was saying, I feel like that's distracting us from these civic conversations. So I
Right.
started off with that. Was brought in as a guest speaker at an after school program to speak about economics and entrepreneurship. And these are children that are in an alternative education program. You know what I mean? Meaning the regular school system couldn't provide for them, whether it was, too strenuous on the school or the student. You know what I mean? But these are the at-risk youth, and this is the alternative education program that they go to. So I was fortunate enough to be able to speak to them about entrepreneurship and self-reliance and an economic stance. And then I
Mm-hmm.
also went to speak to that same after school program about history, and knowledge of self, trying to empower them. So, and I find it real interesting that I did that presentation there, and there were a few students that were very engaged, very interested. Most of the students were generally interested because I was making sure I captivated their attention, let them know, like, listen, you need to be aware of the system that you're in. While you're just chilling, the system has a trajectory for you. So while you're just chilling, you're still being swept along in a current that the system is operating on. So, little attention grabbers and things like that. But I could notice there was this one student who was still in his cool guy mode. He was making eye contact with me a little bit. I could tell he was hearing what I was saying, but he wasn't as engaged as the other students, outright. And it just so happens I ran into that student, the cool guy student, at his job
Right.
one late night. I was going out to get something to eat, and he worked there, and he recognized me, and he was very excited. You know what I mean? Big
Yeah.
smile on his face, and he was like, "Yo, when are you coming back? They need to get more people in there like you." And the exact words that he said to me was, "We need people to teach us how to be conscious." You know,
Wow.
so you never know how deeply we are affecting or how much this is needed, even from the offset. from the appearances, you might think these kids aren't interested or they're not reachable or they have too much of an ego, you know what I mean? But come to find out, it's exactly what they're calling for. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's definitely important, you
Yeah, it
know.
definitely is. Especially getting to the kids because that's the next generation. And I wish it would happen in my generation or even your generation, but I don't see it happening that fast. I see it with the next generations to come. But I do know that that makes me feel happy if I get like one message from somebody that says, hey, I bought this book, or hey, I did whatever, or thank you so much for that information. That's all that matters to me, because at least I reached that one person, and then who knows who that one person could go out and tell. And to make it fun for the kids and stuff, that I mean that makes it even better, because most kids don't like history, most kids don't like learning about new things, they just want to go with the flow. So that's even better. Ah,
Yeah.
okay, we've got people in here. So Sonia, peace, Sonia, peace, Autumn. How are you
Peace,
all?
peace,
Welcome,
everybody.
welcome. This is
Welcome
Guy
to the
Energy.
broadcast.
Yes, he is an activist. I'm waiting on my friend Saeed. My other friend Sabrina, she might not be able to make it. She is from France, but she's actually dealing with something right now, so she might not be able to make it. But she is actually a revolutionary. So Saeed is actually going to speak because he does know about revolutionary, all of that. I'm not too familiar. I mean, I know what they are, and I know what an activist is. Peace gardening at the root. That's elevated locks. Peace Adderall. Hey, Dark Horse. Um, yeah. So definitely, I know he knows a whole lot about that. So he'll speak on that portion as far as that the revolutionary. But I wanted you to talk about, because I know on Bigo you talked about these programs that you're implementing, which I did receive the email for the flyers, that I'm going to print those flyers out, and I'm going to
Yeah.
print some out, and then I guess I'll just send them to you however you want me to send them to you, so you
Okay.
get them out in your areas or whatever. But you
Yeah.
talked about several programs that you were initiating, programs, something to do with the Bloods and the Crips and what it really means, which I never even knew. And so a lot of the people that are watching probably may not know either.
Yeah, and that's the work that I try to get into that deals with adults, because what I've noticed is, yes, the children are definitely our future. The children are definitely who we invest our, you know what I mean, our energy into to manifest that future through them. But also children and helping urban youth, that topic is, it gets focused on also to ignore the adult urban demographic that definitely needs help as well, that definitely needs investment as well. So what you're talking about is definitely something that gears more towards the work I do to for the upliftment of the adults, right? Those very same pamphlets that you're talking about, I started off putting those in targeted black owned businesses in my area. So I would make sure that I would go around, I walked around myself, did the footwork, and identified black owned businesses in my area. What I then did was I approached them. First I patronized these businesses, right? First of all, I patronize these businesses as well. Got to put that out there first and foremost. Then I also, after becoming acquainted with them, letting them know I support them, I then asked them if they could support me by letting me put the pamphlets in their establishments for people to take at their leisure, and
Right.
they were more than happy to do so. You know what I mean? So that type of networking, and sense of community and partnership, it's definitely important, because we kind of look at each other with a defensive kind of lens. You know what I
Right.
mean? A lot of times we think the same negative things about our community that the stereotypes are.
Right.
So to have these real life experiences that break the stereotype, I think it's very important for all of us. So these types of little connections definitely do that as well. You know what I mean? So not just that though. Those speeches and things that I did at these programs led me to do the memorial that my city had here. It's for a local activist, a man named Tree. We know him as Tree up here.
Right.
Implemented a youth program that's been ongoing for over a decade now. It's about knowledge of self. It's called Real Skills. Shout out to the Real Skills program up here in Poughkeepsie, New York. You know what I mean? They teach these children knowledge of self, and their logos are traditional, African spiritual symbols. So they are instilling that in our community and have been consistent with that for over a decade now. So, and my family personally knows Tree. You know what I mean? My mother and father
Right.
actually knew him from the Bronx, and both of our families moved up to this area at separate times and then reconnected. So the family bonds and personal ties are deep there. You know what I mean? And I was fortunate enough to speak at his memorial, but it was also a Juneteenth celebration for my city. So I did the presentation there and spoke, and that's when I had met the mayor, and he was impressed, and I exchanged my concern that the city needs these types of things, and established programs to really rehabilitate the mentality of the youth in the urban community. And the mayor, yes, 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 tried to pander and was all smiles,
Right. Yeah.
but you know, but uh, again, I was supposed to speak to the mayor and follow up about that, and then I had heard about this piece of legislation called Clean Slate, right? And the Clean Slate Act, what that does is it will seal the records for those with a misdemeanor on their background or those with a felony on their background after 3 years for your misdemeanor and then after 7 years for your felony. And what it does is it makes that undetectable when you go to get a job, when you go to get apply for housing, when you go to apply for a trade. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it allows these people to rehabilitate into society better because what I like to put forth when I speak about this is that the justice system is supposed to be your conviction leads to rehabilitation, but we know through the Clinton crime bill and really, the law being used to further slavery on our demographic,
Right.
let's just say it plainly, right? Um, it's not a conviction leading to rehabilitation. It's condemnation leading to removal from society, right? So Clean Slate is working to amend that. It would affect up to 2.3 million New Yorkers, that have some sort of background.
Right.
So I was contacted about Clean Slate, and then at a march to stop gun violence, I spoke to the mayor again about Clean Slate and how he thought about it. He's a Republican, so his conservative side definitely came out. You know what I mean? But I let him know, like, listen, we're gonna be pushing this Clean Slate thing, and I'm gonna be backing it. So it ended there. But during the council meeting, I then was able to bring it forth to the common council in my city, where the 12 council members decide on the different resolutions that they're going to be supporting and different things they're going to be doing in the city. And the mayor
Right.
sits on the council. So eventually end up going to the common council meeting, speaking on the clean slate resolution, having it being sponsored by one of the council members, Councilwoman Flowers. Big
Right.
shout out to Councilwoman Flowers and all the council members that supported it. But we pushed for 2 weeks, and eventually they had to followed through on clean slate, and the Common Council voted with a unanimous decision to support the clean slate resolution. So even though the mayor gave the little pushback, we pressed and pleaded the case, you know, and really presented the undeniable evidence, and they had to move forward. So that was a great victory. You know what I mean? And just one step to getting the governor to support clean slate, and that's what we're moving up the chain of command. So then after the one city where I live, we went to the next city over, and we repeated the same process and had the clean slate resolution drawn up and brought up on their common council, and we went and spoke, and they passed it with a unanimous decision as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the next thing is locking down this entire district for us to then put pressure on the assemblyman for this area, and then the senator, and with all of them, that should put pressure and force the Governor Hochul, to pass clean slate as a New York State law. So
Right.
we're working up the chain of command from the mayors and the council members to the assemblyman and senator to the governor.
Right. And I
You
talk
know?
about that a lot on Bigo. I always let people know that we need to get back to basic civics because that's where it starts.
Mhm.
We have to get people like God Energy in these positions to make the decisions for our people because otherwise it's going to be the same people in office that are going to continue to do the same things and they won't be able to go anywhere because they're going to continue to repeat the same actions over and over. But we have to get back to basic civics, and that's where it starts. The councilmen, all the your local, just your local level, and then you move your way up to the governor, the mayor, the governor, etc.
Mhm.
So that actually does work, but we just have to get the right people in there willing to put in the work and actually do what's needed. Otherwise, it's just going to be a repeating cycle back and forth over and over, and we won't go anywhere.
And
So,
that's
yeah,
what's been happening. I really, want to take the opportunity to capitalize and build upon that statement you just said, because that's the stagnation we've been experiencing in the urban or conscious or black intellectual community. You know
right,
what I mean? That fervor to get things done that the Black Panthers did have, that's taken away from us because we are not focused on the civics anymore, because we've been distracted with these conversations that keep us going nowhere. That's
right,
why we're so focused on competing about which ancient culture and ancient identity we hail from. They are all melanated. We are
right,
entitled to all of them. You know what I mean? So having us focus on the topic of spirituality and ancient cultures and ancestry keep us in the realm of the mental realm,
right,
without
right.
harnessing anything or manifesting anything in the physical realm through civics. And I feel like that does have an origin with a manipulating hand, with that, the very same force that is documented trying to stifle and snuff out this very type of mentality. This, you know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah, I
So
know exactly what you mean.
yeah.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. Welcome everybody. Look, we have 11 people watching live now. Welcome everybody to the stream.
Welcome
This
everybody.
is
Peace,
God
peace.
Energy. You can follow him on Bigo. Well, actually, you haven't had your host edition yet, but it's coming up. But
Yeah.
what's your Bigo name? It's just God Energy, right? Is that your
Yeah.
Bigo ID?
Yeah, my Bigo ID is God Energy. The most recent page is the one where I'm on stage with the microphone.
Right.
You could also follow me on Instagram, God_energy 845. You know, I got a little SoundCloud out there, God Energy. So we got a couple things going, and look out for the website, the Children of the Sun page. That's coming soon. That's gonna be, the hub, the central hub for to be updated on the things that we have going on to be able to get involved, to be able to get information. You know, these papyrus, these scrolls, you know, are meant to be a foundation, you know, and producing literature, producing the physical manifestation of that mentality on paper are how institutions are formed. You know what I mean? So, and like she's saying, that institution is definitely underway because one of the councilwomen that voted on the Clean Slate Act, she runs a program that serves almost like a para police force or military force, like the fellas in Detroit that you mentioned. Unity, is it called New Era Detroit?
New Era Detroit, yes.
Like New Era Detroit, or I don't know if those of you have heard of the Guardian Angels from back in the day on the East Coast that they had, but similar to the Guardian Angels, what the Black Panthers tried to be, what New Era Detroit is, you know, they walk out and try to maintain order on the streets. They respond to shootings. They respond to the reporting of a possible shooting when word gets out that something might go down. These people, you know what I mean, show up. They are former perpetrators of these types of actions. They lived this type of lifestyle. They served their time. They rehabilitated themselves, and now they are amending the culture and actions and things that they perpetuate. They are now putting
Right.
their lives on the line to undo the wrongs that they did, to undo the self-destructive culture that they put forth on the street. So one of the councilwomen is in charge of that program. She connected me with the one who leads that program for her. You know, one of the
Right.
brothers, and I know of this brother from years ago, from my teenage years, hearing about him, hearing a different legend about him. You know what I mean? A
Right.
hood legend in a different way. You know what I mean? That real way. So I know who this man is. I know very well who, you know, who he was. And now
Yeah.
I get to meet the man he has become. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So they want me to come and speak and, you know, give them this consciousness. The same way the brother at Taco Bell said we need someone to teach us how to be conscious. That's exactly what this brother would like me to do for his team. You know what I mean? So
Oh, that's
now that's a way to instill these values, this sense of activism and revolutionary spirit in these brothers that are taking it to the streets, taking it
right.
to those that really need it. So that's where the power of teaching these people that have these guns what their organization started as. These soldiers out there, there's a reason why they organize themselves in a militaristic way,
Right.
because there's ancestry in that. So that's why you have to re-educate or reintroduce this lineage to the Bloods, to the Crips. I heard you mention earlier how Crip stands for Community Revolution in Progress.
And
That's
I
a
never knew that.
revolutionary mantra. Yes, they need to know these things. They need that needs to be, you know, emphasized to them
Right.
again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what that is for. Blood, brotherly love overrides oppression and destruction. So in blood and in Crip, you have the terms oppression and revolution. We know what
Right.
type of lingo this is. We know what type of glossary this comes from, you
Right.
know? And when you hear things that these organizations have their origin in the Black Panthers, these are the real life remnants that let you know. You can hear it in the verbiage
Right.
that they are meant to address oppression. They are meant to be the ones that are holding the community revolution,
Yeah. See, I
you
never
know?
knew that. I never knew that those words even stood for anything.
Right.
How many? There's 10 people in here. How many people in here knew that about those words? Because I didn't know that until he told me that. I had no idea that those words actually stood for something. Like I had no idea. I
And a
don't
lot
know.
of people don't.
Yeah, a lot of people don't. But that's why, it's good to share information that you know. It's always good to share it. What did I write down?
Yeah, of course.
Uh, I'm
Of
waiting
course.
on Saeed. He hasn't made it yet, but he'll be here in
Yeah,
just a second. But anybody that's in the chat, you are welcome to come up if you have any questions or if you want to make any comments. I, I want to know who's over here from Bigo and who's over here from YouTube. I would love to know that. I did write people's names down that did let me know. Oh, you didn't know? Intrigued Mind says she didn't know. So yeah, I didn't know either. I mean, you learn something new every day. So,
yeah.
but I wrote everybody's names down. Who's that? Shining Light, welcome. Peace. Oh, Y2 Kenyon, welcome. Peace. Greetings, peace, and blessings to everyone this afternoon.
Peace
Peace
and
and
light,
blessings to you.
everybody. Welcome to the build. Y'all welcome to come up, share ideas, brainstorm with us, give
Right.
feedback,
Yes,
ask
please.
questions.
Y2 Kenyon. Okay, you're from YouTube. Okay, cool. So let me write your name down because I have like a surprise like at the end, and I
Okay.
want to know who's all here. Okay, Intrigued Mind. Are you from Bigo Intrigued Mind or are you from YouTube?
But yeah,
Um, but yeah, I wanted to ask you what's in the pamphlets. What information is in the pamphlets that we're going to be? We're actually, and anybody is welcome to do this too. Like if you want some of these pamphlets to pass out in your areas, to
yeah,
whatever neighborhoods need to go to, then we could probably you just inbox me or you can inbox God Energy and we can get you all the pamphlets so that you can pass them out. But what's in the pamphlets?
yes. That's one of the goals I have with the pamphlets is for those of you who want to become speakers and become leaders in this type of topic, who want to take it onto themselves to become active in some sort of way, to take a baby step, to take that first step in becoming active, into putting your actual energy into making a change, into affecting the lives of others. We will provide you with some of these pamphlets for you to hand out. However you feel comfortable, I could provide you some suggestions on how to go about it. Of course, the best thing would be to familiarize yourself with the pamphlets and the information on them. But it's a great way for you yourself to get active, engage with the people, and start to show your face, and for you to become a beacon where you're located for this type of enlightenment, because the people are calling for it. And a lot of us want something, we need something to channel this energy into. We need something to get involved with, because we want to make a change. I see it all the time. And we
Right.
misplace that energy on each other. And it comes out in conflict when really two parties are really just looking for any opportunity to make a change, to manifest that energy, and sometimes we use it against each other, and that causes destruction rather than building. So this is a
Right.
great way to build, to use that energy, to use that fervor to build. And you can reach out to either one of us. You know what I mean? Reach out to Unity. She'll reach out with me. We'll put together a plan to get you whatever you need from these pamphlets, and we could get started. So and what the pamphlets document, they document one or maybe two historians or anthropologists or linguists or ethnologists that admits to a specific civilization, ancient civilization, being black, being melanated. They document our primacy. So what I do is I reach into the different sources, and I pick out the ones that are telling the truth, that openly admit the truth about these specific civilizations having black origins, having melanated origins. And I go through civilization from the Olmecs. I go to the Dravidians in India. Sumeria, the Middle East, Asia, and document basically the blackness of the world, of the ancient world, you know? And that's one column. And the next column gives you a little bit of breakdown of the civilization. And that's
Right.
what the pamphlets hold. And I have an example of one right here. And this is
Oh,
the
there's
one
the Olmec kid.
for the Olmec heads, right? Well, I have one for Greece. So the panel that has the picture documents the blackness, right? And then the larger panel here gives you a little breakdown of the civilization, right?
Yeah, they're really nice. I looked at it. I just didn't read it yet. The
Yeah,
email somehow it got lost. I don't know. I got a million more emails before it, and then I saw it. I said, "When did he send this?" I said, "Oh, these are the pamphlets." So I
yeah.
flagged it, and I'm gonna print them out and definitely get that taken care of
No
because
doubt, no
we
doubt.
have to get those out to people. Like the
We,
more,
yeah.
I'm always on Bigo, you all. So I, I'm gonna be on here more consistent too. I'm gonna start streaming from both. So while
Oh,
I'm
y'all
live
can
on
catch me on
Bigo,
YouTube. Y'all
oh,
can
you're
catch
on
me on YouTube
YouTube.
as well. I have a YouTube channel, God underscore energy on YouTube. I
Okay, let me
forgot.
fix it. Let me fix the banner. Let me see. Hold on.
Yeah.
So you said God underscore energy.
On YouTube, yes.
Oh, that's the
Yeah.
same thing as kind of like your IG.
Yeah, yeah, I tried to keep some consistency.
Yeah,
But
that's fine.
with the pamphlets as well, not only do I use them to hand them out, I use them as teaching aids when I speak and teach people about this. You know what I mean?
Right.
And aside from being connected with the um the force that kind of looks after the streets, who I intend to instill these values, the ancient value
Right.
systems, right, and teach them about how the Magi of Nubia were the known as the world's best archers on the planet. You know what I mean? Right
Right.
in Africa, and they were used as a police force, a guard. You know what I mean? The
Yeah.
same way that these brothers act. So I'm gonna bring all these correlations in. You know what I mean? And then the value systems from these civilizations. You
Yeah.
know, and that's handling the militaristic aspect, the gun violence, the safety of the streets. You know what I mean? But
Right.
with these pamphlets, I also intend to use them as teaching aids for the education program that I'm now involved with creating. Because there was a woman, another local activist, that happened to see the work that I had done with Clean Slate.
Right.
She was at the council meetings for her own business. You know what I mean? But
Hmm.
she ended up reaching out to me about putting together a program. So now, handling the patrolling of the streets, this other program will be teaching the youth knowledge of self. It will teach them the entire course that I have about the melanated primacy and origins of civilization, but it will also teach them how to be revolutionaries, how to be activists. So they're also going to get a course on the systemic oppression, right? That has been implemented onto us, not just knowledge of self, but also what has happened to us, right?
Right.
Things like the race clauses that the FHA would make developing suburbs sign, and the race clause would stipulate that no black people could be in that area. And then once they signed the race clause, then the FHA and the federal government would give them money to develop the suburbs, as long as they promised no black people. This systemic oppression and discrimination. redlining, all of these types of things have led to, the degradation of Black ownership in housing, but also the wealth that comes with, owning a property. As the
Right.
value, the market value of that property goes up, that's equity and wealth that your family grows. And that systemically has been kept away from us and is just one way we've been discriminated against and economically stifled. But we need to know these things because without the knowledge of knowing that, we think Black people are just wasting opportunity that America is giving them. We think Black people are just out being distracted and never tried doing these things. You get what I'm saying? We did try. We fought at every turn, and they implement laws and policies to stifle that. We have to know these things so we don't misplace the blame and anger and accountability and foster
Right.
self hate. You know, it's important. So, this program is going to teach 14 to 17-year-olds and then 18 to 21-year-olds.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's really good.
So it covers, the late teens into early adulthood. So we will be and this is going to run up to 10 months. We're shooting for possibly 10 months at a time and then having the summer off. So this would be a year-long program. You know what I mean? Teaching
Yeah.
children how to be revolutionaries, teaching children how to be activists from
Mhm.
the urban community. You know what I mean? So it's time for us to do these things. And one of the things that I cited was that this type of information is a measurable and quantifiable factor for uplifting the urban community. It's been proven time and time again that this type of information and structure changes the lives of Black youth. The Nation of Islam did it, the Moorish Science Temple did it, the Black Panthers did it. We have example after example after example of what type of structure produces Black doctors, Black lawyers.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think this would be a good example, like, because there's all. I'm going to just pose this statement because there's a lot of people that sit at home and want to do something but don't know what to do, and I think fear is a big part in a lot of people, and that's fine. I get it. I totally get it. We're all human. um, I think that's a major part. I
Yeah.
think, but just like these pamphlets, for instance, passing out these pamphlets is actually putting in the work. It's doing
Yeah.
something. A lot of people would say, "Oh, you're not doing anything. You're just passing out pamphlets." But you have to think you're passing out information to other people that look just like you. So you're
Mhm.
putting in actual work. So that does count as work.
Yes.
So don't think
And it's
like sitting, passing out pamphlets or organizing meetings within your neighborhoods. Don't think that that's not putting in work, because that is actually doing something. Even feeding the homeless, anything that you're doing within your neighborhood is actually
Mhm.
considered putting in some sort of work. And a lot of people don't think like that. A lot of people think that you have to be out here, I don't know, doing whatever thoughts they may have, because people have a lot of different thoughts when it comes to putting in the work. The questions are always, well, what is the solution? What is the solution? Well, this
right.
is part of the solution. You know,
Right.
Passing out information, that is part of the solution. Oh, well, that's the white man's law. Well, it's the law of the land. So you have to learn it. You have to figure out a loophole and get in it and work your way around it, the system. I
And
mean, it's
see,
common
and,
sense.
and see, even that, I'm so glad that you said that some of our people have that kind of response that, oh, that's the white man's this, that, and the third. All of this infrastructure and these systems, right, come from
Right.
the civilizations that we implemented, that we put forth. You know what I mean? So it does not belong to them. It's not their science. It's not their education.
Right.
We taught them these things. We developed these sciences, these arts, these mathematics, these calculations on the continent of melanated Africa that we come from. And these things develop in all of the places that we
Right.
maintain that family connection around the planet. And that's the point of
Right.
showing how all of these global ancient civilizations were black. This was a worldwide thing that we
Right.
implemented. That's why I don't argue about who we were back in ancient times, because all of those peoples contributed to our genetic makeup, right?
Right.
All of these peoples contributed to our ancestry. And that's the big conspiracy. That's what needs to be blown out of the water. That's why I document that blackness from the Americas all the way to Greece. You know,
Right.
we have the documentation of black Greeks. So where is the movement saying that, oh, we are the black Greeks and you should all worship Hercules if we're
Right.
going by that model? So once we find out that an ancient civilization was black and melanated, we don't have to automatically attach ourselves and become that ancient civilization, though it's
Right.
important to know that that ancient civilization was black 100%, you know.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
important,
That's
but
definitely
that accountability is important with knowing, you know what I mean, what we created. Because
right.
passing out pamphlets, that's why I called them papyrus earlier and I called them scrolls, because the
Right.
ancient wisdom, the ancient religions, the ancient philosophy, the ancient history was written down on the pamphlet of their day, which was the
Right.
scrolls. And these pamphlets are the scrolls of our day. This is papyrus,
Right.
paper, papper,
Right.
right? So
Yeah.
we are doing these same things. We like to study the ancient civilizations, but are we doing the things they taught us? We'll study the ancient scrolls and reference the ancient papyrus, but will we create our own? So
Right.
that's what is important. That's the dream that I have about this. And it's not just the papyrus. You know, build. There is a system here. There, you know what I mean? There is a rite of passage system that is available for you. You just have to build with your brothers and sisters out here. You know what I mean? And it's not just pamphlets that I will send you. As you progress through this system of education and activism that is laid out here, not just for the children and the programs that I'm establishing, but for any of those that wish to engage and, you know what I mean, get involved with this, either with enlightening yourself or preparing for becoming an activist and getting active. Reach out. And there are other things that we can share with each other that I'm willing to send you. It's not just pamphlets. You know what I mean? We have a
Right.
culture and a family here that can be built. You know, that is being built. So, you know, we have to get on one accord.
Oh, definitely. We definitely have to get on one accord. And I think that that'll help. I mean, especially that's why when you told me about it, I said, "Well, I want some because I want to pass them out here."
Yeah.
And that's the goal. The goal is to get other people to pass them out, in their areas,
Yeah.
and refer to them like you said, because that makes it even not even just sound better, but it is what it is. It's actually a scroll. It's actually papyrus, like you said. It's
Yeah.
not just a pamphlet. But I guess Saeed is having problems with traffic. So if you would, because I know you know what a revolutionary is, what a revolutionary does, if you would break that down for me, because just for a moment, oh, there he look, speak of the devil, here he
Huh?
is,
See?
revolutionary. If you would break
Peace,
that down for
side.
me, because
Oh,
just
you
yes,
got
for
two.
sir. Oh, there he
Peace.
look, speak of the devil, here he
Yes,
is.
sir.
You've got two YouTubes on.
Peace, side.
Oh, you got. Okay, there we go. All right. How are you doing, Saeed?
I'm doing great today. Peace and
That's
blessings.
good. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings. This is God Energy up at the top. He is an activist.
Peace, peace,
You said
peace.
you were listening, so
Yes.
I think he heard what you were talking about. Did you? Let me ask you this before you introduce yourself. Did you ever hear that Bloods and Crips meant what he said?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I
The
figured you
first,
did.
the first time I heard was from Eddie Griffin, the comedian.
Hmm.
He
Eddie Griffin is
Oh,
very conscious.
separate of his comedy shows.
Hmm.
He shares information.
oh, wow. I
Dope.
didn't know that. Okay. All right. So if you would please introduce yourself and what it is that you do, a
That's
little bit
dope.
about yourself. I've got your information in the description, but if you want to give it out, I can put it on the screen too.
Well, my name is Saeed, and what I actually do is my objective in life is to get people to study, to get people to read, to get people to search, get people to seek, to get people to look for the truth so we can kind of get a guiding light of how we can transition from where we are to above where we were. I'm actually sitting in for a revolutionary queen, and I'm gonna
I
try to
know.
share a little bit about revolution because I don't consider myself to be exactly a revolutionary per se, but I support revolutionaries. I support activists. I support any and everybody who's doing something toward the cause of upliftment.
Okay. Yeah. So if you wouldn't mind, what is a revolutionary?
From what I can see, a revolutionary is one who fights politically to change the system. For the most part, from what I can see, as the Black Panthers and other organizations, some organizations that are still going now. I'd also consider the Black Panthers and most of those organizations somewhat activists slash revolutionaries, because a
Hmm.
revolutionary, from what I heard many times, is that revolution cannot be done without bloodshed. But in the same sense, when you look at the revolutionaries around the world right now, except for maybe some of the foreign countries, you don't see any blood being shed. Um, um, I don't have a lot of details per se on revolutionary because I'm not one. I can only share details about groups and organizations,
Right.
things I've seen, things I've experienced. Everybody should know about the Black Panthers since they're one of the oldest known organizations that I would consider as revolutionary. You know,
Right.
when I
And
first heard about the Bloods and the Crips, I actually realized that the Bloods and the Crips were in the beginning they were almost like the Black Panthers in a sense. They were actually trying to protect their neighborhoods. They were standing tall. They were trying to stop the same oppression that we have today. But it's
Mhm.
everything we have a tendency that we open our doors to any and everybody, and then usually we're easily destroyed. I see some of the revolutionaries from around the world doing their thing. I'm not going to try to pronounce their names because I'm not going to get them right. But we've had many revolutionaries. I mean, Sabrina is definitely a revolutionary. She's definitely
I
one that
know,
believes in
man.
fighting for the cause. Um, she's definitely one who stands tall. Um,
I know, I know. She said she was going to try to make it, so hopefully she does, but we don't
yeah,
have that much time left. But if not, we'll do another show and we'll
yes.
bring her on. I think God Energy, did you have something to say to Saeed?
I did, but largely, I want to say I agree with the brother's sentiment that revolutionary and activists overlap. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's why when I was speaking, I associated revolutionary more with a type of energy or mentality,
Yeah.
and activism would be the actions driven by that mentality. You know what I mean? So and I like how he mentioned the Black Panthers with that, because I feel like they are the epitome of that. You know what I mean? The most excellent example. They are that combination par excellence, because no one would doubt that they were a revolutionary group, right? No one would doubt that. They shouted out with the police, made sure we were armed, were unapologetic about their stance, and the benefits that they wanted for Black people specifically. But they were a political party, right? That's civics. And
Right.
now we're getting into activism. So that's kind of why I put the tier the way I did with researcher. And then once you research and you have that knowledge of self, you have the knowledge of oppression, you get a revolutionary spirit. You get that energy to want to change. You know you need to rebel against these systems put in place. And when you finally, act on them and find a place to manifest that energy, then you become an activist. Once you become active and take action, you are an activist. So revolutionary is more in spirit. It's a mentality. You know what I mean? It's a political stance, an ideology, a philosophy. Activism is what you do based off of that mentality. So most revolutionaries become activists. Most activists have a revolutionary spirit or stance. So I like how, that middle ground is trying to be hashed out. And, an activist who's not revolutionary may just be what we call a social justice warrior. You get what I mean? So a
Yeah,
person is still concerned about social issues, but not so much, against the system or has a gripe with the system. So it's a fine line there. It's definitely a fine line there. But either way, um, it's been well overdue, and our community definitely needs a structured system, some sort of institution to formalize this process, to take young children from researcher to revolutionary to activist. You know what I mean? Or vice versa. We could combine the two as a revolutionary activist, because that's really what we need
Right.
anyway. There's really two levels: researcher, and then
Right.
you become that revolutionary activist. So, and
Right.
that's what I hope the program will become, that we are now trying to establish with these 14 to 17-year-olds and 18 to 21-year-olds, having a formalized system of creating revolutionary activists.
Right. Yeah. What do you gotta say?
I just have a question. What would Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson be considered?
Oh, you know how the FBI said we have to prevent the rise of a black messiah
Yes, sir.
unless we place one there?
Yes.
That's where they would fit as the replacement distraction puppet. You know what I mean? To keep you from the real goals, to make you think what they're saying is a goal to reach, when that's really a distraction that keeps us in running a rat race on a hamster wheel. You know what I mean? So to Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson, those are brothers that are presented in a positive light to make you think they are what will change things, or are pushing the things that will change things, but really that's just to pacify us. That's the intermediary to pacify us. How, the slave master would have a black preacher preach to the slaves, but that slave master would still sit in the background to make sure the preacher did what the slave master wanted, to make sure the preacher gave the slaves the message that massa wanted you to have. And to me, that's the position folks like Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton play. They are telling us the white supremacy approved black message, you know?
I understand.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Brothers like Khalid Muhammad, now if I take something from you, I got to give you something. So if I say, no, brother, don't eat that pork, I have to give you something better than pork to eat, or else I just took whatever little nourishment you had, right? And that doesn't make me the good guy either. So if I'm going to take Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton from you, I would have to now give you someone like maybe Khalid Muhammad. You know what I'm saying? That kind of thing.
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
You get what he's saying, Saeed?
I
I know you
understand what
got a
you're
lot
saying.
to say.
I understand. I'm not like I say, I don't consider myself neither per se. I
Yeah.
support them both because when you look at the United States military, you had the Army, you had the Navy, you had the Air Force, and Marines. You need the whole group because each handles a different position. For me, I'm more into Garveyism. I'm more into do for self. I'm more into that. At the end of the day, my personal feelings for my 56 years of being on this planet and my 40 years of research has proved that there's nothing going to work until you do for yourself. At the end of the day, you can't, if I have a glass of water and I go to hand it to you and I stick my fingers in it on the way to hand it to you, that water's no longer clean and you're not going to drink it. So for us to try to be like, when I looked at the Pan-Africanism and I looked at some of the different groups, I felt like, okay, I support them. If they have something, I'll even show to it. But I don't consider myself a part of it because I realize that in a demonic system, I don't want to clean up a demonic system. I want a brand new system that's non-demonic.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to make political change. I want to make new politics, if that's more phrased. So like
Yes.
you look at the 70 to 100 towns that were destroyed, that were doing totally for self.
Mm-hmm.
That's what is needed today, for in my mind. Because if you're telling me that okay, we had a Barack Obama, a melanated man, and he was better than George Bush, a non-melanated man, but Barack Obama's been around George Bush and him since he was a little kid with the exact same program, the exact same platform. That's
And
like
he's related.
That's like
And
you
he's
telling
related
me
to them.
I'm gonna take the lesser of two evils. I don't want evil. See, evil and good and bad can't occupy the same space. I want a new system. We in America, we have enough money in America. We wanted what fourth richest nations in the country, just the African American as we're called. But yet we're the number one spender. So for me, I believe in separation. I believe that you can't be respected until you do for yourself. Nobody respects. There's no animal on the planet that asks another animal for anything. The bird don't go ask the bluebird don't ask the red bird for a sandwich.
That's
Yes.
true.
I actually support that politic, right? And if there was any structure that would push black politics, that would be the agenda. First you pay us and then we're leaving, right? You're going to give us these reparations so we can use that to have a grand exodus. And that's kind of how I bridge the gap with some of our Abrahamic brothers. I use certain verbiage like Exodus. I support us having an Exodus just like Moses. I support us having to protect it and possibly bust somebody's head open like David did Goliath. And I think we need to employ all of our wisdom to maintain it just like Solomon. So just because I won't call myself a Hebrew Israelite, I can still break it down to you using biblical terms that I completely support. We should have an Exodus like Moses. We should be prepared to protect it and bust somebody's head open like David. We should use all of our wisdom to maintain it like Solomon, and you should be prepared to die for it like Jesus. Next. So, and that's kind of why I feel like us having a practice with having social structures and civics, being involved in civics, that is the main importance of us being involved in civics. So we know how to operate the system to create our own. 100%, that is the end goal of all of this. If in a perfect world, exactly what the brother said would be the end goal and the culmination of all the work put in. Teaching people about knowledge of self, teaching them how to be self-reliant, not reliant on the system or any type of welfare, and us having been civically active to work for ourselves, that we could create these infrastructures for ourselves in a new home location. Guess what color the flag is going to be? Red, black, and green, baby. We already have a flag. We already have a black national anthem. We already have core tenets and pillars laid down by our ancestors like Marcus Garvey. I want to put my red, black, and green flag up to be in solidarity with you because me and you are part of the same nation. The infrastructure isn't there yet. The civics isn't there yet. but we're part of the same nation. We fly the same flag, red, black, and green, created by who? Marcus Garvey. Where could you find that stemming from? Ethiopia. You get what I'm saying? It's still all that's Nile Valley science. We're back to, you get what I'm saying? It all interconnects. Because that red, black, and green is definitely, you know what I mean, a trinity color that stems out of Ethiopia. And we know Jamaica and Ethiopia have a very special bond, right? Jamaicans, they love Ethiopia, Jaja, right? Come on. So there's a lineage. There is, ancestry being looked back to that's being upheld. Marcus Garvey perpetuated it. We latched onto it and we have to perpetuate it. So I'm in 100% agreement with you. We share the same politics, right? We've been talking about civics and politics the whole time, and we are in complete agreement. And that's what I notice when I talk to a Muslim, a Hebrew, a brother that believes anything. When we talk about civics, we are always on the same page. And when we start talking about religion, spirituality, all of the imaginary stuff, that's when the arguments
I
come.
know. It always happens like that. It always happens.
I'm with you, brother. I'm with you, brother. That needs to be the game plan. That needs to be the politic. We're not going to change this system. We're not going to change this system or take over America or take America back for our American, Moorish, Aboriginal, Indigenous American ancestors. That's never going to happen because America is not a singular entity. America is a part of the global white supremacist structure, the European royal family extension, right? Every US president is a blood relative of the Queen of England, who in turn are blood relatives with all of the aristocracy of Europe. So Barack Obama, just like you said, is no better than George Bush because they are cousins and they are both perpetuating the same European royal family white supremacist bloodline. George Bush is Obama's cousin, and they are cousins with the Queen of England. And that's the power structure that's being perpetuated. So England and Europe would never let black people take over America and take America back. They won't, because America is not just a singular entity. You know, we need a grand exodus. I believe the brother is correct. We need our own land to establish our own civics with no evil tainted in it, you know?
Yeah. What do you have to say, Saeed?
I'm in the Bible. Well, on the spiritual tip, I try to study every major, spiritual system.
Yeah.
And what I learned to do is put together like a puzzle. Humpty Dumpty stood on the wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. Humpty Dumpty is us. And for me personally, when I look at the thing that talks about the Exodus, it's not an Exodus of moving from a location. It's an Exodus, just like in the Bible when it talks about Jesus healed the sick and healed the blind. And it talk about the story of the lady who came to Jesus and say, my husband is dead in his drunkenness. And Jesus said, go get him. She didn't go get a physically dead person. She went and got a dead-minded person, because you could ride through any neighborhood throughout the world, not just America, and find so many of our brothers and sisters that are dead-minded. They sit in the corners drunk, sit in the corners drugged out, and so forth. So the Exodus to me doesn't mean for me to leave America and go to another place. And it means the Exodus of leaving this corrupt system and formulating your own system. It means that it's time to separate. You know what I mean? We've been beefing with the Caucasians for 6,000 years. We've been beefing, or we've been abused psychologically, especially more than anything, in the last 100 years in this nation. And we've tried everything. You've had the Black Panthers, you've had all the organizations, everybody tried everything. And we get inches, but to be a true man, you have to control your destiny. You can't control your destiny by taking thousands of years to get inches towards you. The only way for us to be respected as a people is to separate, pool our resources, separate, and do for self. If nothing else is going to work, nothing else has worked. Because for me, I'm 56 years old, it's working too slow. Because what happens, they give us inches. You know what I mean? Like they give us little baby steps and shut us up, and then we go sit down somewhere. That doesn't
Yeah.
work anymore. You know, we're living in the time, and if you want to talk about biblical, we're living in the time, we're living in the strange days of in Revelations, to which is the end of the time of their rule. Only thing it takes now is self-love. See, self-love makes you want for me what you want for yourself. Now you can trust me, I can trust you. Now we can pool out resources. Now we can start to build and grow and get out of this system. I'm just not one who supports things that involve the system because I realize that the system is wicked. So no matter how much you involve yourself into the system doesn't get better. It doesn't get better. You know, like
Yeah.
you look at Jesse Jackson, and you could go on and on and on to these people. Majority of the people that I personally know, they would think that Jesse Jackson is an activist. All those are activists because what we've been shown. And to people to follow them, hey, do what you do. To people who want to do bullhorns, do what you do. But when I think about Black Wall Street, I think about that's success. You know, that's success. You know, that's why it was destroyed because it was too successful. That was the purpose of why they had to destroy it because of the fear of it being too successful. So you imagine if only 60 or 70 or 80 small towns in America shook America. Then that's what we need to go back to. But now we're in a different level because we have the economic money. We have you think about it, everything in America we have. We got generals in the military, so we can have our own military. We have officers and high officers in the police departments. We can have our own police department. There's nothing but us waiting on ourselves now, which is to find that self-love, that self-worth, you know. And once that happens, everything's going to change because it's time for change. No matter how you look at it, you want to look at this in a biblical way. You want to look at it in a metaphysical way. All of the things are pointing to now is the time for change. And the only change it's going to take is the truth. And first, you have to learn about yourself. That's why history is so important. You know, you look at the Jewish people, they never let you to live down the Holocaust. But was not the Holocaust white on white crime? Was not the Holocaust been lied extremely? As far as the millions of people they said they had, many people say it didn't even break a million. I don't know which was fact. But I know you compare it to the Holocaust of us, and some people claim we're about 250 million or so right now dead between the slave trade coming across the sea and what we're going through experiencing right now still today. We used to get about an average of 700 hangings a year. Now we're getting about 1,000 or better hangings by the police a year. So things have got worse, not better. We're in the illusionary of truth. We're in the illusions of things being better because now you could pick master. You go out here, oh, I got a good job. Yeah, you pick master. You still got a master. You still not controlling your destiny. In order to be a man, you have to be able to control your destiny. And until a man can control his destiny, a woman is not going to submit and work as his partner. The only way to do that is to separate. There's no other thing that has worked. We've tried everything and we get inches. So for me, I'm just believing in separation. And you can't separate until you start to have group love, self-worth. And that's where history comes in. History is power because it shows you who you was. But most people only get history for the last 400 years. So they don't want to learn history. Who want to learn that you walk around barefooted and you're supposed to be an ape or gorilla and turn to a man? You know, like Cat Williams said, that don't even make sense. That's retarded. That's where if you go back and look, that's where older white people try to scientifically invent themselves back into blackness and created those animals. That's why they're not natural animals to the earth. That's why the animals are how they are. The black people don't have no date to time. We've been on earth so long, there's no date of time. There's no way to keep up with the time that we've been on earth. There's nothing that can last as long as we've lasted. So if we go past 400 years of history, then the history feels good. But most people, when you talk to black people in America, they have attention. They don't want to hear about history. Oh, that's over with. That don't mean nothing. It's not over with. It's only over with because you don't only learn that one small aspect, which is all negative. You know, you running around here like Kuta Kinte or something, you know. They don't realize there's nothing new under the sun, as Solomon said. Now we are, you know, when you look at the pyramids, they're built on the north-south axis around the whole equator. They're only within inches offset of being exact. We don't have the technology to do that today. We don't have the technology to build the pyramids. But most people don't understand what the pyramids mean and what they signify. They signify the greatness with the Sphinx, with a black man's face on a lion's body, with the pyramid being a base of 4 and 3 sides of 9, representing the base of life and the foundation of life is the black man and woman. You know, see, people don't understand the gist of it. People don't understand some of the pyramids, the greatness, and how they are structured and set up. One of the pyramids, I can't think of the name of it, but inside that pyramid is a hollow area that you go and look up through a tube, and that tube sees a red star that only appears every 25,000 years. You couldn't have been ignorant to understand those kind of facts and those kind of things. So we are the gods of the earth when we have the mental epitome of the gods of the earth. But right now, the number one problem with us is separation. The one problem is self-hatred. The number one problem with us is a lack of self-worth. And so we need to heal those things, then we can unify, then we could grow. Because until you unify and grow, you're not respected. See, it was a meeting that Martin Luther King and Harry Belafonte and several others met with the president. I'm not going to name the president, I can't think of the name. And they had a meeting with the president. And they gave the president a whole list of all these things they wanted, you know, job programs and training programs, all these things. They said at the whole end of the meeting, the president said, you know what, you're right, but you got to make us do it. See, we asking for things instead of making or taking things. So you have to look at your enemy as well. You have to look at your oppressor, understand the nature of your oppressor. You have to understand what your oppressor respects. You know, so nobody's going to look at us like a human being if we're not treating ourselves as human beings. You know, when you got Little Italy, you go to any major city and find Chinatown and Little Italy and all these different things, but you don't find no town for us. So nobody's going to respect you until you respect yourself. So we first need to work on the small things, and then we can make the big jumps. You know, like people talking about, well, you should vote. Well, it's things I can say, but I don't want. If I was in jail and I was about to get raped, and one man was this big and one man was this big, and I got to make a choice, I won't want neither one. That's the same way I'm looking at the political party and look at the word Democrat comes from the word democratic means demon's way, and Republican means the same thing. So you're sitting there, you're voting for the lesser two evils. But how can you deal with evil if you're trying to build a righteous or a worthwhile way of life? Evil can't be in this scenario. So my thing is that we got to really go back to the roots. I respect the brother. I listened to y'all, you know, till I was able to get here. And I respect the movements that you're making. I respect everything you're saying. You know, I understand where you're coming from. You know, I understand the jest. But also I sit back and I just constantly think about the Black Panthers. I constantly think about all these different organizations we've had. Even think about the power that Moors used to have. Think about the power that the Masons used to have in the Prince Hall. Think about I'm just talking about the American version. I'm not talking about the ancient Moors. I'm talking just an American version. The Prince Hall under the Masons, or the Noble Drew Ali under the Moors. The power they had to when at one time, if you got off a train and you came into a new town, there would be somebody who would sit at the town that will point you to the right direction. Because you might walk in the wrong end of the town and end up in the white side of the town, and you're gonna get hung. So that's why I say, are you a traveling man? So I think all these things, even those systems that have changed today, they were all about the upliftment of each other. It wasn't about separatists, but now everything is separate. Everything. Or the Christian don't want to deal with the Muslim. But if you look and you study, Jesus spoke in Aramaic. He spoke in Hebrew. Those tongues sound very the same. Jesus never called himself a religion, so why should you? Moses never called himself a religion. Why should you? Abraham never called himself a religion, so why should you? But like you said earlier, they're all our stuff. Everything good is ours. It just simple that. People don't want to hear it, but it's the truth. Everything you understand is good. It just is the truth. But when you look at the difference in your oppressor, like for example, if you have a cat, the cat mama don't have to tell the cat baby that we don't deal with dogs. The dog mama don't tell the dog puppy that you're supposed to go out there and hunt cats. It's a natural inert ability in them. Just like it's a natural inert ability in a difference between Black people and white people. Physically, it's a difference, and mentally, a difference. You know, it's the difference in the nature of ourselves. Like when you look at white people and whatnot, I don't have no beef with white people because they're white. I have a beef with the systematic way that white people puts in white supremacy. And then you look at the people and say, well, that was before. Okay, but the white people living today still benefit from the white people there. And I don't see them going out here having a 1 million man white march to change and make things right. Because they're not going to do that, because it's against their nature. You know, that's when you look in the Bible and John and Jesus said, you are the Lord, so your father was a liar and a killer from the beginning, and you're going to do no better. And that's the reality of it. So if we change, we have to make the change.
I like how you brought up the example of you know, whatever president saying you have to make us do it, because that illustrates the construct that we're in. This isn't some pleasant situation where we can ask to be treated better and they're going to go, okay, I was kind of being mean. Let me treat you better now like a human. That's not the reality of the situation. This is a proxy war. And it's just managed oppression. That's what managed oppression is. It's the continuation of your defeat. And we have to realize these things. And like you just cited, it was plainly stated by the oppressor. You're not going to get anything unless you force it, unless you make us. You take the ball. If I take your ball and then you say, give me your ball back, and I say, make me. For you to get your ball back, what do you got to do after that? Fight me. That's what make me means. That's what make me means. Give me my ball back. Make me. In the hood, what happens after that? For you to walk away with your ball, what happens? And that's not even the hood. As we can see, that's world politics. You know what I mean?
Yes,
So
sir.
it's very important to grasp what context that interaction illustrates and what fervor we need to have. And when you're talking about separatism, segregationism, that should be the politic. That should be black politics, our separatism. And really, we should leverage white separatists to get that goal done. Because there are black people that don't want to be around white people, and there are white people that don't want to be around black people. We need to capitalize on that. You
I
get what I'm saying? And
can't.
that whole
That's one I
that
can't
brings
do.
that
That's one
brings
I
an
can't do.
irony to the situation.
Yeah.
Because if you have both sides that say, give us our own spaces, I don't want to be next to that guy, but that guy can have his own space and I won't bother them. Do you know how much leverage that would put on people? Do you know how much pressure that would put on people for us to what would seem like two opposing forces? And that's the game that they play. When people try to erase race and make it seem like it's about the elite versus the common person, that's where that thing comes into play. Because the lower guy, whether you're black or white, is getting shit on by the oppressor. And the lower guy, whether you're black and white, does have wishes that the oppressor is ignoring. The lower guy on this level, the black guy on this level, and white guy on this level don't want to be around each other. We're both forced to be around each other by the elite. You get what I'm saying? So our separatism is what unites us politically. But I like how you brought up that what did you say? What was it? About the history and knowledge of self, because what people forget is that in order to be released into society, white children are forced to know that. They do not release white children into society to run it without instilling into them the knowledge of self, without teaching them about the Greeks,
Well,
teaching them about the Romans,
well,
teaching them about the
well,
Renaissance, teaching them about knights and Hercules and Beowulf and Shakespeare.
this the thing though, brother.
We need
White people are
hold
lined up and we're lied down.
we need that same teaching, and that's why we aren't given that teaching. So we lie down. The very tool that is meant to empower us, that knowledge of self, is used against us by teaching us you're a slave that had no shoes. So now the tool of history and knowledge of self that's supposed to uplift us is used to stifle us, because like you said, they distract us with 400 years of slavery and make us shy away from it, when really that is the very same tool we are supposed to use to uplift ourselves. So the ghettos or black neighborhoods look like Little Italy, look like Chinatown. And we used to have them. They were called Little Africa, which brings up your other point of Tulsa, Oklahoma, because the viewers out there might not know that, like Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Black Wall Street, like you said, there were dozens of other settlements around the country, but they were systematically destroyed by this oppressor, which kind of set a glass ceiling for our people. Our people were scared by that and saw that there was a level of achievement and advancement America would not tolerate. And those slaughterings and destructions culminated in 1919, which was known as the Red Summer. You know what I mean? And that term, the Red Summer, is because of all the red blood from black people that was being shed that summer across the nation as they systematically destroyed, like you said, there were 70 of them.
Somewhere between 70 to 100 towns.
7,200. There
Black
were
Wall
up to
Street.
7,200 Black Wall Streets, and they systematically destroyed them. It culminated in 1919, which is known as the Red Summer. So, what the brother is saying is important. It's important context for us to know the situation we are in and what things we've already tried. And my brother, you bringing that up is kind of why I say us migrating, because us separating and thriving, we have an example of that. And they Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Red Summered it. You get what I'm saying? So and also us circulating that trillions of dollars, like you said, even though we'll have our own system, maybe down south in America, we all live near Alabama, is popping. All of that trillions of wealth is still going to be circulated into the system of white supremacy. So that's kind of why I was amending that aspect by us migrating, because we would be disconnecting our trillions of dollars in wealth from the white supremacist system. So, because we fund our own oppression. We buy Gucci bags, McDonald's, these types of cars, and we give the money back to the corporations that use it to oppress us. So, one way we could amend that is by removing our currency from their circulation, by us removing ourselves from their circulation. But those of us that are willing to pick up arms are still going to be needed to protect what we build. So we're not running. It's not cowardice. We are actually ensuring a conflict. We know once we take money from them, they're going to want to fight. We know once we build Tulsa, Oklahoma's again on a different land, they're going to want to fight. So we are the ones who actually are guaranteeing and preparing for that conflict. So you can't say that migrating and building a competition civilization is cowardice, because once you become a competitor, you gotta what? Compete. You gotta stand on your own. And that is what people are running from. That's where you see the cowardice manifest. And that's a little bit of the Stockholm syndrome, I feel. I wouldn't call it cowardice. I would call it a little bit of Stockholm syndrome. We complain about America. We know we were hung here. We're still being shot here. They're poisoning us with the food, the pharmaceuticals, everything. We'll complain, say it's bad. Yo, we need to be revolutionary. There's a boat that'll take you to leave. Oh, nah. Well, what we got to do is stay safe here. That's Stockholm syndrome. You know what I mean? And I understand that. I completely understand that. It's natural.
My view is that my view is a little slightly offbeat of yours, a little bit slightly, because what I'm saying is that what I'm saying to you is that if I'm in a corner and I got a gatehouse, and I'm banging out of my gatehouse, and you come to my gatehouse, tell me you're gonna take my gatehouse, I'm not gonna allow that. America belongs to us. America was not just see. I people don't understand it. With many of us here before Lee Garrison got here, who was the first white man to see American soul. Columbus, from what I've read, never saw American soul. So America belongs to us. So for us to leave America, that's good for the ones that want to leave. But when you leave and you go somewhere else, you got to start all over there as well. So why not, since you have a foundation here and you run it here and you built it here, why not take it here? So the thing is that at this point, I believe that civil war is on the rise. White folk against white folk about to head into civil war. In the midst of that civil war, it's going to break America down a lot more. And at that time, people better learn to migrate into situations, financially and physically, to group. See, when you learn about yourself, just like, for example, everybody talks about religion. And the problem that I have with that is that what is the truest religion? The truest religion is peace. The truest religion is peace. The truest religion is wanting for you what I want for myself. That's the truest religion. You can say that for some, you know what I mean? But I'm not even going to use the term. It's peace. You know, when you think about shalom, shalom alaikum, as Jesus would have said, or assalamu alaikum, as a Muslim says, it's all about peace. Because first and foremost, it has to come to a point where I want for me the same what I want for you. I need to become my brother's keeper. Once I become my brother's keeper, then all of the things we talk about become easy to do. But when you got the Willie Lynch syndrome and you got 400 years of fear bred into you, just like you go to the animal, you see that tiger and them lions, and you say, man, that little whip, that little whip, and them lions getting in place and doing everything. But take that same man, drop him anywhere in the jungle, and give him a whip and a gun, and see if he wouldn't get out that car and go try that. Them animals were beat since they were babies, so they know nothing but fear. It's the same way we were beat and treated as animals since babies. So none of us know much as fear. But I believe that we're going through a different time now, and on Earth, that now is the time that more people are waking up, more people are starting to see, more people are starting to understand. You know, so when you start talking about, for me, when I start talking about separation, the average Jewish community separates their money 18 times. Black community, our money don't circulate once.
Right.
One, we don't have nobody circulated two because we're not doing nothing for self. See, so the very first thing when I look at Marcus Garvey, you know, that's why he was ejected from this company, this country, because they know that if you really want to hurt them, how do you hurt them? The most important thing to hurt them is first truth. Because see, white people have been lied up. Their history is stories. It's not much. Even if you go back and look at Stolen Legacy, and it talks to you that you'll find that the majority of stuff, even they teach them on themselves, is lies. You'll find that Aristotle, Pluto, and Socrates, they traveled to Africa, to Imhotep's college, and tried to study. And they took the books back and they rewrote their names in the book and forged the books. And so we call them so great today. Those are not truths. But the point is that the bottom line is that we have to figure out a way to get the truth of self to our people in total. Not everybody is just like the last poet say, some niggas must die so blacks can survive. Everybody not going to make it. Everybody don't want to leave. A lot of people are happy, what they say, happy in their captivity. That's fine. But for the people who are going to start to wake up, the people who are going to start the motion, we need to be able to really push the ability of understanding yourself and your self-love and self-worth, so that way you can trust me and I can trust you. It don't take but 5 people to pull their money to start a business. So if you got 5 here and 5 there, 5. If you look at Tulsa, it was only a handful to start that business. One guy had a vision. He went to several other guys and they built it up and they just grew and grew and grew. They just kept buying land as it grew. So that's not something that can't be done. But when you don't have a connection of each other, you don't have that peace in yourself, you can't have peace with your brother, and then you can't grow. So when you said earlier, you said something about I can't think of, but when you attack your oppressor, you have to attack him from angles. The angle of truth, right? And then the financial angle. The financial angle is the one that bothers him. That and truth are the 2 things that bother the oppressor the most. You know, see, we could go protest, we could do all these things, we could bullhorn, we could put our guns on and go out here and walk around, and that's cool. You know, it affects some of the ones that elbow to elbow to us. But the actual oppressor, the rulers, it doesn't affect them. What affects them is the truth. Because when you learn the truth, you don't have fear.
Money.
Second thing that affects them. But if you don't learn the truth, you can't use the money as a power force. Yeah. Because we don't trust each other. See, you know, until we can work together, nothing is going to change. It doesn't matter how much we talk. Until we come together, there's no change. You know, that's why you look at the Willie Lynch letter. You know, you look at the Willie Lynch letter, it make the dark one hate the light one. Make the old one hate the young one. Everything is about separation. So when we come together, you got to have peace. You got to have inner peace. And inner peace comes from knowing who you are. That comes from knowing your history, not just your history of slavery. Because even in school, the history of slavery they teach you is a lie. The first and second C-section done by a slave. We go on and on and on. The first slaves came here, they wasn't just some people around bones in their noses and like that Tarzan foolishness. They were architects and engineers. That's who built this and laid this country out. So, you know, a lot of people don't understand about the 64 lost years of slavery, because there was 64 years of slavery where they brought indentured servants before they even started the mass slavery. A lot of people don't know about that. So for 64 years, bred little girls, the grown men. After the little girl had 2 or 3 babies, she was put to death. For 64 years, this cycle. So when the first slave ships came here to Jesus, it was you coming off the ship, seeing people look like you, dressed different, talking different, but they were beating and whipping you down. And even today, you know, here in America, we don't give ourselves the proper power of who we have in proportion to ourselves. We make up 50 million, but even though we make up 50 million, then so we're the gods of the earth, our 50 million is so powerful. Now, one thing I do want to say earlier, when you said something about the white people who want to make the change and the black people here, I can't do it together. I can do it. I can do it with a group inside here. This is my group, and that's their group. I can do it that way. But so far now, yes.
I think somebody has their mic in like their clothes or something, because I can hear. Does somebody have a mic like in their? It's like muzzled.
Or an animal.
You hear it?
A scratching.
It sounds like the mic is
Yeah, scraping up.
Yeah,
or like
muscle.
scraping up against clothing or scratching or plastic.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds.
I'm not moving.
Okay. I don't know.
I hear the sound.
I've got AirPods in, but I'm not moving.
Yeah. But yeah, I was never suggesting making a like multicultural organization. What I'm talking about are black separatists and white separatists like the KKK, both saying keep us away from each other at the same time. That is speaking about the same actions. That's kind of what I mean. And that would be the only togetherness that there is us together saying keep us away from each other.
Well, are you familiar with how they got started?
In various mythological tales. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, but when I was saying when I'm talking about
white people,
black people, right?
Yeah,
I'm saying to you is that I always wondered what destroyed the Black Panthers. You know, because I know one of them got on heroin and got killed, or got on crack, and they went to jail. A couple of them went to jail. But what actually destroyed the organization?
The agents that were working with,
it was allowing white people. It was allowing white people to be part of them. What actually caused this demise of the Black Panthers?
So
they started accepting white people toward the end. That's what caused the actual demise or the actual death of the original Black Panthers.
Oh, you knew? Oh, I thought you were asking me because you didn't know and were unsure.
I didn't know for a long time, and I found out recently.
That's actually what I was about to do.
With so many of the groups. So for me, it goes back to like the thing Muhammad Ali said. If I'm sitting here and 100 snakes coming down the hill, how am I to sit here and figure out what's not?
Right. So it's
so
on me.
For me, I can't intertwine with them.
Me neither. I just said I never suggested a multicultural organization. What I said was black racists and white racists saying keep us away from each other at the same time. That's it. You know, and I've actually kind of gone out of my way to make sure everything that I agree with you on, I make sure I build on that with, because I'm pretty sure I do agree with you on everything you're saying, right? I'm just having applications and just doing a bunch of things to eventually lead people to separation and segregation, right? That is the ultimate goal, because you and I both know that's when we had all of these things we are imagining that we want. We both said that taking money out of their pocket, that's what they need. That's what we need to do, and that's what hurts them. We have to get on some one accord, you know? And actually, you said a few things that me and Unity mentioned earlier about us not trusting each other, right? These types of things are big issues in the community. And they definitely need to be.
They're the top issue. Because
they need to be active.
We have so many brothers and sisters. We have so many brothers and sisters that have great ideas like you, bro. We have so many brothers and sisters that's doing moves like you throughout the country. I mean, think about this. You know what I mean? If it weren't for Unity today, I wasn't familiar with you, right? But think about the moves you're making and the people that you're affecting. Now think about if If everyone had a mentality like you, if everyone had love of self, if everyone had love of self, then they had love of each other, then we'd be each other's keepers. And then the thing that you're saying would easily be moved toward. But when you go out here and you talk to somebody and they don't have that love, they say, "Oh man, this brother coming here, I don't hear that stuff you talking, man. You come here and talking." You know, it keeps going back to that Willie Lynch or that slave mentality, that PSD. So, but one thing I'm gonna say, Albert Pike was supposedly the one who started the Scottish Rites, or what we call the Ku Klux Klans in America. But he was hired by the Jews to do it. That's what people fail to understand. He didn't do it upon himself. He was hired by the Jews, like the international bankers and the Anti-Defamation League, to go do it, because what he was doing, he was tricking the poor white people and making them think that it was us that was causing them to be poor, instead of the Jews that are running the financial system. So, but my thing is that I don't have a beef with them, because they welcome to feel like they want to feel, like I'm welcome to feel like I want to feel. What I have a beef with is the system that I have to face each and every day of my life, what we call white supremacy, which is a system. You know, that's what I have a problem with.
Now, that's the observation that led me to make my knee-jerk, attention-grabbing statement of Black people on our wavelength also making the same statement that those white supremacists make. We both don't want to be near each other. We also both are complaining about the system that Jews created, right? So when I made that observation, I'm like, wait, hold on. In an ironic twist, the two sides that hate each other the most are complaining and politically want the same thing. So that's
why use the term they hate each other the most? Why use that term though?
Well, because what I see is the systemic hanging murder of Black people by police officers and other individuals that come from that white demographic. Then us in the Black community, we don't give entire lectures about how the Chinese oppress us. It is this European counterpart. So that's actually what I'm talking about, is the kind of ethnic rivalry we have existing in the continuum of American society. That, in a sense of teaming and breaking teams down like that, that's more of the specific context, which is a loose analogy. I'm just saying it's a loose analogy, looking at Blacks and whites as teams, oversimplifying us to teams, oversimplifying it to a basic competition. So, you know, just in that model, I use the term hate each other the most, or competing against each other the most, blase. Because now, like I just stated,
I want to understand because
like I just stated, the KKK talks shit about Jews as well. They call Arabs sand niggers. They call Spanish people spics. So yes, I acknowledge that, my brother. I am specifically just talking about the rivalry between us, because that's kind of just been the topic for the past hour.
The reason why it threw me off a little bit, because if I come in and I fight you, right, and you don't fight back and you like peace and love, then that's a one-sided hate. You know what I'm saying? I don't see any Black people going out doing no harm to them. I just see them doing harm to us. So that's why I got off a little bit. I'm just trying to.
We still in this demographic have a distaste for them, and that's more of what I was getting at, is the rivalry in our politics, not so much pointing out how one is more viciously violent than the other in that rivalry. You get what I'm saying? Which I fully acknowledge. And that viciousness and warlike nature has been the hallmark of the Indo-European populations through antiquity. You know what I mean? That barbarism and violence, it's associated with the spread of Indo-Europeans and civilization in general. So yes, we could get into that part all day.
I wasn't saying that. I was just saying, when you said just that one term, everything you say I agree with, just the one term threw me off.
Yeah, and that one term actually, and I don't want to get into that and distract from the main point I was trying to make politically about how you as a Black man want to be a separatist. But there are white separatists as well that don't want to be around you.
Yeah.
But ironically, if you both say that at the same time, you might get farther than individually saying it, is my ironic observation. Not saying it's an opportunity to be friends and feel peace with white people. That's not what I'm saying, nor desire.
I'm not racist or hate. I don't hate white people. I ain't racist than white people.
Yeah, we
I'm
should
like
be.
Sister Soldier said. I'm like Sister Soldier. I'm prejudiced. I'm prejudging my situation.
Okay.
See, racism and hatred burn me. See, so what I'm saying is that I don't want to become my enemy. I want to separate from my enemy. Because sometimes when you get too caught up, you become like your enemy. Are you familiar with the Talmud?
I actually support exactly that. What you just said about us embracing terms like prejudice instead of running from it, because we've been a victim of white supremacy. So that abuse we face, we have labeled prejudice, racist, and all of these things that if we practice them, we would benefit from. I'm so glad you brought that up, my brother, because again, as a people, we need to support those types of policies more and not be afraid of them. A lot of our people would be thrown aback by you saying that. I'm prejudiced. We need to practice these things because it's you, like you said, prejudging your situation. Now your survival instincts can be applied better. Your knowledge can be applied better. And so I'm so happy the conversation got to this point about being able to talk about concepts that us as a people shy away from, but that's hurting us by doing that. So thank you so much for bringing that out.
Like I say, I just had issue with the one thing because, like I tell people sometimes, I say, like most people don't understand that we're in a war. We're in a war that's been attacked upon us, but we're not fighting. What I'm saying is that we're in a one-sided war. We've been attacked.
Yep.
We're looking as an enemy by the oppressor, but we're not counterattacking. We're not attacking or warring. So we're this side not in the war, but that side is warring against us. So when sometimes people say that black people are racist, I say, well, I don't agree that a black person can be racist. A black person can be prejudiced because if I let you come in my house and some money missing, I let you come in my house a second time, some more money missing, then I can easily sit there and say, well, that's 2 times you came in the house, so I got to put my money before you come in here again. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not a negative connotation. That's not a negative thing. That's reality.
Yeah.
But racism or racist or white supremacy is systematic. We don't have systematic things against them.
Oppression. I associate that with oppression because we don't have the systems to oppress people. But racist and racism is about being team oriented. So yeah, we can't be oppressive at all, but we can embrace racism and be prejudiced. And those things bring positive things to a community, solidarity, circulation of resources. And we have been suffering from not practicing these things. We've been tricked into rejecting the very thing that'll save us, like with history. So us rejecting racism is like us rejecting history because of slavery. The very thing that'll save us, which is history and knowledge of self, will save us, which is racist practices, prejudice practices. We have no power to be oppressive. Black people can't oppress anybody. We don't have, a place in the power dynamic. You can't hit us with that. Sorry, but we will be as self-oriented as any racist. We will be as protectionists,
Are you familiar with the Talmud, the Babylonian Talmud?
The Talmud, the Babylonian Talmud. They were just talking about it on Bigo. And they were just saying how the Talmud reveals how racist or, ethnically inclusive that Jewish scripture is.
Okay, so if you understand of it, then you understand their system that's been involved for thousands of years, not hundreds, but thousands of years since their creation. Are you familiar with their creation? How long that white people have been on the planet. What has the planet went through since their beginning of being here? And see, so my issue that I have is that when I see Jesse Jackson them, and I used to listen to him and stuff, and I remember I read a book called The Choice by Samuel Yates. And he talked about when the Martin Luther King riots, and he was out in the street talking to the youth and the real people, and how they didn't follow Jesse and they didn't follow those type of leaders. You know, they were more into Malcolm. They were more into the ministers, the Black Panthers. They were more into the street level organizations that were about fire. But a lot of times we as a people, we don't want to relate to the fact that we have an enemy.
That's right.
We don't want to relate to the fact that we're being warred upon. Yes, by Samuel, yes. We don't want to relate to that facts. And until we relate to those facts, we can't grow.
Yep.
Because everybody wants to say peace and love, but you can't have peace and love until you peace and love yourself and your own. It's just the way it works. So, like, you know, like for example, Hitler was financed by the international bankers. Hitler's mother's supposed to have been Jew, I've even heard.
Yes.
So in that sense, then most people don't even understand why he did what he did. He didn't just attack them strictly because they were Jews per se. He attacked them because of the monetary system was being destroyed in Germany, as the monetary system has been destroyed in many other parts of the world.
To add on to that, the specific family of Jews he's supposed to be from are Rothschilds.
Yes.
Specific Rothschilds.
Okay.
So what we're gonna do? We've been out here for almost 2 hours. Saeed, I'm gonna need you to download Bigo so you can come on Bigo, because I want to finish talking about this on Bigo, because this is I'm trying to push my dog away. Sorry, y'all. This is like a 2-part thing. So the first, it was only supposed to be an hour, but I could go over an hour. That's fine.
I appreciate it, bro. I appreciate God energy.
I'm hearing this feedback. I don't know where it's coming from.
Any and everybody who is doing something, you know, because it takes something to, you know, no thing gives you nothing. You know?
Yeah, that's true.
We have to do something, and we have to come to
I do want to continue it on Bigo, and hopefully I can get Sabrina to download Bigo too, and then she could come back over there, because Sabrina is a true revolutionary, and she doesn't hold anything back. She will tell you everything, and I was like, dang man, she couldn't make it, but you know, things happen. It's okay. But I'm definitely gonna try my best, or do my best, to get her over to Bigo. But Saeed, I know you'll probably be like, well, how do I get this? So I can help you get it so that you can get over there. And what we're going to do is, everybody that has come over here, like I know there's some people here that are from YouTube. I'm getting this feedback, so I'm going to mute both of y'all's mics for a second. Hold on. Okay. So I know there's some people that came over here from YouTube that were already subscribed here. I know there's some people that came from Bigo. I did write everybody's name that commented. I wrote everybody's name down. I will enter all these names into a drawing, and there will be a prize for coming back to Bigo. So if you do not have Bigo downloaded, please download Bigo. Make sure that you follow me. It's Unity is Essential. That's my Bigo ID. And also make sure you follow God Energy. It's what is it? God Energy, or God underscore energy. Make sure you follow him as well. And maybe we can get Saeed to get a page over there and start going live and getting paid on Bigo. I don't know. We'll see. But until then, I did put all of their information in the description as far as how to follow them. On Instagram, I didn't have your YouTube God Energy, so I only put your Instagram. And Saeed, I put your Instagram. I also put Sabrina's Instagram. And I did put my Bigo ID in there. But God Energies is pretty self-explanatory. It's his name. It's just God underscore energy, or God Energy. Just God underscore energy. But yes, when you come back to Bigo, there will be a recap kind of what we discussed here today. And also we can continue forward with the discussion there. And there will be a drawing. So I'm not going to tell you what the prize is, but it will be a nice prize, because, you know, I like to give out a nice prize. But I do want to thank you, God Energy, for coming. I want to thank you, Saeed, for coming. I really appreciate it. I'm going to unmute you all if you want to say your last words or whatever before you go, how people can follow you, how they can reach you, so that we can get that out. We've got about 7 minutes. Okay, go ahead, Saeed. I'll unmute you first, unless you go.
Okay, you can follow me on Instagram at unify_Sai. I just want to say thank you. I just want to say thank you for the energy. Thank you for the information and knowledge, brother. Um, I just truly hope that I'll cross paths with you in the future on the front lines. Um, we'll be coming as the Air Force and the Marines, or the Army and the Marines somewhat, but we'll still be pointing to the same angle. I hope that Allah guides you and protects you, because anytime you go against this system in any kind of manner, they're going to try their best to break you down. And just know that brothers like me are always going to be around in the background supporting.
Thank you, Unity, for having us today. Thank you, brother Saeed, for sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, and information. I definitely do what I do to follow in your footsteps and you know walk on this path that you have blazed before us, and the likes of Marcus Garvey and all of the elders. You know what I mean? So I'm just happy to have met you and to have presented myself to you. Um, Thank you so much, and I'm glad that I'm a well representative, and I'll make sure that I try not to let you down. And all of the people out there, it's the same. You know what I mean? I hope everyone enjoyed the build and heard something that was insightful, something that they could relate with. You know what I mean? And we'll be back again. I hope to get this brother on Bigo, most definitely. He would definitely be a new hit star on Bigo. You know what I mean? But if not, the work continues on. And
Yes,
Unity is going to continue to forge these bonds for us. You know what I mean? So thank you, everyone. Catch y'all on the next one.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thank you everybody for coming. Peace and blessings to everybody. What is it? Have a great day on purpose. Like I always. Oh, hold on. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was getting a phone call in the middle, and they know that I'm live. I'm sorry. But yeah, I'm gonna go in and end this now. I might go live on Bigo later on, but just make sure you download Bigo. That's my Bigo ID. It's Unity is Essential. It's the same as the YouTube. And Saeed, I'm gonna get you on Bigo, and then God Energy, you're already there. So as soon as I get the date and time for the next show, it'll probably be within like a day or two, something like that. I don't know. I'm gonna advertise it the same way I did with the YouTube. I'm gonna make a video, and that way you all will be able to see that video and come on over to Bigo. So peace and blessings to everyone. I can go ahead and remove you all from the chat, or you can remove yourself. It's up to you all. You want me to remove you? Okay. All right. Peace, Saeed. Peace, God Energy. Peace, everybody that's still in the audience. I see Olga. I see my name is Noble. I see Roderick Roche. Um, these are people that have been here. Atlas. Let's see. Y2 Kenyon, Shining Light, An Intrigued Mind, Gardening at the Root, Adderall Z, Autumn Bara, Sonia Bay, Mr. Simon, and Tuka. Well, I don't think he was here. He just typed in the comment. That was before. That was 11:43. How did he type in the comment? I don't know. But thank you all so much for coming. I really appreciate it. Have a great day on purpose. Come join me on Bigo at the Knowledge Box anytime. It's Bigo Live app. You can download it on Google Play or the App Store, on Apple, the iPhone, whatever it's called, the iStore. I don't know. And just look up that Bigo ID. Unity is Essential, and then just follow me there, and you can catch every live. So everybody, again, have a great day on purpose, and thank you for coming. And we will see you soon. Peace and blessings.